You're listening to 89.1 KMUW. A famous Wurlitzer pipe organ has been based at Wichita's Century 2 for about as long as the Performing Arts Center has been open. With Century 2's future in question, the organ's caretakers are working to increase public and city support so the Wurlitzer can remain in Wichita. KMUW's Deborah Shaar reports.
I'm going to move this.
David Bernsdorf carefully pulls back the thick red velvet curtain that hangs from the ceiling to the stage in Century 2's exhibition hall. No performances are scheduled for this day, so the stage is empty. The Wurlitzer is out of sight in a locked storage room, stage right.
And there's the console.
Bernsdorf has been a caretaker and supporter of this majestic white and gold console for 50 years. 4 keyboards, 32 foot pedals, and hundreds of stops trigger more than 2,000 pipes to create that signature Wurlitzer sound. This organ, called a unit orchestra, was built in 1926 for New York's Paramount Theater.
It can replicate all the sounds of an orchestra, whether it's the strings or the brass or the woodwinds or even the percussion.
The console gets all the attention during concerts. The pipes, ranging from 6 inches to 32 feet, are hidden behind decorative screens and chambers above the stage. Bernsdorf says the organ sound is so powerful, the audience can actually feel the music.
There's just no other music instrument that has that power and can develop those frequencies that are radiated by the walls, the ceilings. It is really an experience that you have to be there in person.
The Wurlitzer is physically built into Exhibition Hall, so its future depends on what happens with Century 2. Brett Valiant is the Wurlitzer's performing artist in residence. He says the city's support of the organ has changed in recent years.
When I look at the information we know now, the different ideas that are being discussed, I don't feel a lot of support from the city, and I find that disappointing.
Valiant started playing the Wichita Wurlitzer 20 years ago. Back then, city leaders pushed for the organ to be used during banquets, exhibitions, and other events taking place at Century 2. Valiant says more recently, limitations on access and the building's sound bleed problems impact how and when the Wurlitzer is used.
It's become difficult to hold concerts. It's difficult, if not impossible, to get in and practice.
The Wichita Wurlitzer organization, the nonprofit that owns the organ, scheduled 3 performances this year. David Bernsdorf, also the group's president, says they are planning 5 next season. The group is trying to build its audience and its visibility in the community.
Some people are surprised to even know it's down in Century 2. Others aren't quite sure what to make of it. They think it's an organ, and organs don't have positive connotations to many people.
The organ was idled for a few seasons in the past decade, so board members could figure out what to do in case the organ has to vacate Century 2. Bernsdorf says the Wurlitzer organization has only had a limited role in the city's engagement process to decide future options for Century 2. A report released in February recommends the city build a new performing arts center. So far, the Wurlitzer has not been addressed in building plans.
Our primary goal is to keep the Wurlitzer in Wichita and to go whichever path the community decides, whether it's staying in Century 2 or whether it's going to a new performing arts venue.
In the meantime, the organization made changes to raise interest and financial support for the Wurlitzer. To get younger people involved, the board of directors expanded from 5 to 9 members. And the group changed its name from Wichita Theater Organ to Wichita Wurlitzer last fall.
Because so many people have such a negative reaction to the word organ, we're starting to call this a unit orchestra or simply the Wichita Wurlitzer Orchestra. because that's what it is.
The fate of Century 2 and possible new venues likely won't be decided anytime soon. That buys Bernsdorf time to make sure the Wurlitzer is not forgotten.
The city needs to support it, and I don't mean, when I say the city, the entity as the city of Wichita. Yes, we need their support. But the citizens of the community have got to support it.
Back in 1969, the Wurlitzer's pedigree and signature sound were all that was needed for the organ to earn a place at the brand new Century 2. At some point, we'll find out if that history is enough for the Wurlitzer to still have a home in Wichita. For KMUW News, I'm Deborah Shaar.